and family of YouTube, Happy New Year. It's your host Rob Banks and you're watching the Red Cup Review. Today we're obviously looking at the Mezco 112 Collective Aquaman figure, and today's show is sponsored and brought to you by the Collector's Zone Cantina. You can see right over here in the bottom part of the screen how to go and join them on Facebook. The Collector's Zone Cantina is a cool, tight-knit community. I got this figure from there. They're good people over there. They give you rewards, points, and all that other good stuff. So if you're looking for a harder to find action figure, or if you guys are kind of into like Sideshow and Mezco and stuff like that, just go check them out. Tell them Rob Banks sent you. This figure pops like a son of a bitch right out of the packaging. He is definitely the big fish. Is he a contender for Figure of the Year? Quite possibly. He has definitely one of the biggest wow factors that I've felt this entire year from Mezco, since back when the all-white Popeye came out. He's got a great color scheme. I'm a sucker for the old school type characters and the old school type outfits. This figure photographs ridiculously. Just take a look at some of these photos right here. Aquaman pops like none other. He's got the perfect right amount of accessories. I don't even know what else he possibly could have came with besides maybe a seahorse or something like that, in which case it would have been a deluxe edition of the figure. He's got the two heads. One absolutely perfect. The one that's on the figure right now is probably the best Aquaman sculpt I've ever seen on any action figure. There's also that one with the funny little teeth out there in the back. We'll take a closer look. And he's got these dope ass, awesome, perfectly sculpted for an undersea king accessories. I didn't like them in the initial pics, but they look awesome on the figure. Let's take a closer look. Starting this review off with portrait number 1, my absolute favorite of the 3 portraits, and it is my favorite head sculpt from an Aquaman figure and one of my favorite Mezco head sculpts I've ever seen. The wash in the hair is done excellently. The sculpt on the hair is done perfectly. It gives it that wavy, wet feel. It's really done nice. The sculpt is darn near perfect, man. I don't know what else to tell you guys besides maybe a tad more black wash in the hair. However, it does give you that golden feeling. The skin paint, this is what the Cyclops figure should have had that made me bring him down a notch. I don't know if you guys have seen it through the video that I'm watching, but the skin tones and flesh tones are done so well that it really highlights the sculpt underneath, especially around the eyebrow area and in where the cheeks kind of hollow in on either sides. You even get that in the highlights in the neck area and right around where his Adam's apple is. It is absolutely terrific. The eyes are bright blue. The pupils, everything is done without no bleed. It is aces. This is fucking aces, people. And the eyebrows are done perfectly too. This is what, look at that strong jaw. When I think of Aquaman and the King from Under Atlantis, this is the kind of stuff I want to see. Now, behind door number 2 here, my second favorite head sculpt out of them, I'm really happy they gave us something like this. This is something they should have gave us with Wolverine. Obviously, you can see how awesome the paint is around the eyes where the furrow is, where the skin gets a little bit more reddish as opposed to the more flesh tones around the outer side, upper part of the brow area there. Just take a look at the paint on the inside of the mouth. This is some of the best paint work I've seen on the inside of someone's mouth, only for the fact that it actually looks wet. His tongue looks wet. It looks like there's saliva in his mouth. It is done in a way when the light hits it, it really captures that wet look. And I think that's just absolutely great. I think the teeth are painted really like as good as probably they're going to get on a figure like this. Again, the hair sculpt is definitely painted with, look at the amount of detail in the hair on this thing. It's as if he's underwater, he's fighting underwater. It's just great. So if you put him on that stand where he's actually kind of like flying down at you or flying up or pretend like he's swimming, this is the head to use. And I kind of wish that other Mezco figures, look at it, even around where the eye is over here, you could see that it's kind of wet looking, right? So they made it look like he's sweating under pressure if you had him outside the water, or kind of a wet look as if he was in the water. This is the type of stuff they need to give us going forward instead of what I'm about to show you. Behind door number 3 is this portrait, and while it is my least favorite, portraits like this are sort of growing on me, and I don't know if it's because this is what we've been getting and it's kind of just like, okay, this is the standard, grimacing look that Mezco does with the kind of the teeth showing. I think they need to vary it up a little bit more. I think maybe some characters going forward need to have more of like this, like the yelling head, as opposed to the half grimace look. It's alright. Again, everything though about it is pretty spot on. The sculpt is also different on this head, on the hair at least, and you can see that there's the blonde highlights around the 2 different color yellows for the blonde hair, so that works really well. It's very nice. I like it, but just not as much as the other 2. The The eyes on all three of them, though, I didn't mention this for the other two sculpts, have a little bit of a clear coat on them. So when the light hits them, it gives it that realistic kind of reflective look that most realistic eyes have. And in a 6-inch action figure, that's kind of unprecedented, at least from the stuff that I've seen. This is the part of the review where we look at the articulation and the outfit. We like to smash both of them together here on this channel. Just taking a quick look at the outfit, the way the light gleams off of the scales on the figure really gives it that wet, shiny, and regal look. It's awesome. I cannot tell you guys how fucking cool this thing looks in person. The orange is appropriate. It gives it that nice classic color look, and they are similar to the way the original Captain America was, except I see that these scales are going to rub off a lot less likely. I think that they improved the way the scales are on them because they seem to be really stuck on the character and put on there really well. Now, talking about the bottom half of the figure, they went with more, less of a material and more of like what the Punisher, right, that Special Ops Punisher comes with. Now, I would have possibly, and these are also raised too. These are also like little raised pieces on the outfit. Now, I would have preferred more of what they did on the top for long-term articulation problems. So like when you do this with the figure, see how it kind of bunches up? And then if you keep it like that for like a day or 2 or 3 or a week or whatever, and you put it back down, look at that. See how it just bunches up? You just got to maneuver it, and then eventually it snaps back the way it's supposed to be. So that's a little bit of a nit there. However, the material that they did use gives it that shiny, wet look effect. So I really can't complain because they kind of went with aesthetic more than articulation and purpose and stuff like that with this, which is fine. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Taking a look at his belt. All the gold pieces of this figure are sculpted excellently. They have like that underwater crustacean feel to them, which is really nice. However, I gotta say that they could have used a teeny bit more black wash to really bring out the details, especially around his neck there, which I really enjoy it also. I think it's cool as hell. I don't know. I actually enjoy this because I think of Aquaman. I think of that like he's wearing armor. He's a king. He has like that king, semi-King Arthur feel, especially with like when you put this stuff on him and the crown, which I like. I like that Mezco-ism that they used for this figure. Now let's get on with the articulation. His head sculpt looks up about that far, which is pretty decent but not great. However, he does look down really well because there's a double joint between the ball and the head and the ball underneath the shoulder area here, right? Balls. Talk about balls on this channel. Moving forward, he articulates forward pretty darn well. He goes back really well too, so that's nice. All right, his arms go up about that high. Right, and you could probably get them up even higher, like if you rotated them forward. See how it starts to bunch up in here? Guys, don't fast forward past this part because you want to know that you can maneuver. See how I keep maneuvering and pulling? That's to get the arm up like that, and then when you put it like that, if you want to put him in like an overhead swimming pose or something like that, you won't necessarily crimple and crunch and rip and tear and stretch the material all that too much. Now, he has the double knees that go all the way back. The ankle rockers are not great, but good enough. They're good enough where like they go out about that far and they come in about that far. You don't want them to go in any further than that though, because then they could possibly get loose, and then you'll have a figure that really can't stand up on his own. So it's kind of sturdy, and I'd rather have it move a little bit and have it be a little bit more sturdy. He does have the double jointed elbows, which is really cool because you could put his elbow up, double joint it, and you can have his arm kind of cross across his chest about at least that far. There is no butterfly joint in here, but all the other regular standard Mezco articulation. Now, I know a lot of people are talking about his underoos and feeling that it's like more of a bikini. It doesn't bother me. However, I really wish they would have went with a more black color. I liked Aquaman in this color scheme, which is my favorite version of Aquaman, but with the black shorts. So I would have went with maybe the black bikini or the black shorts for this version of Aquaman, but it really doesn't bother me all that much. He looks really friggin' good, guys. And you can get him into some dynamite poses. Stay tuned for the end of the video where I go and show you guys all the cool ways you can pose your Aquaman figure. Look at that. Doesn't that look great? Moving on. The accessory section, my least favorite part of any review. All right, so we're going to approach this a little bit differently this time because I actually wanted you to see what the accessories look like on the actual figure. Again, black wash problems aside, I think they really could have brought out more details with the black wash in the armor that they gave him. I love the gold. It's appropriate. He's a king. There's a little magnet, and that's how it attaches to his head. So when you pull off the crown, on the other side, you can see the little magnet here. Each head has a little magnet in there, and you can kind of put it on and then maneuver however you want it to sit flush on his head. It's got a lot of nice detail in there. I love the whole crown look. It's very, very cool. Now, moving on to his shoulder pauldron and his armor therein. right? A lot of really nice, cool details in there. There's actually a little bit of a belt buckle kind of looking thing right there, which is nice. On his shoulder here, you get the whole, looks like a seashell, I think they're called conchas or something like that, right? Very nice. It shines like a son of a you-know-what in the light there. Looking at his staff here, it's great. I love the trident. I love the look of it. It looks like lobster claws, kind of sharpened up, really nice. Again, black wash would have really made this thing pop. However, the gold really, I don't know, it just works for me. I think it just works all together. Now, you can take this off and out of his hand, which he holds really well, and you maneuver on to the back, and he has a holder there for it. And the holder holds it really well. You put it in there, and it's kind of like a little clip, like it snaps in there, right? So now you got him with it across his back, and he looks dynamite, right? He looks like he's ready to bust some heads. I love this. Now, here's a little bit of a nit. The way this snaps onto the shoulder, so if the shoulder is like this, it's fine. However, if you pull it up a little bit, see how it separates? You got to kind of, and you can get it to reconnect. You can get it to reconnect. However, it's a little bit more of a pain in the neck, and I'm not going to go through that in this video because it really takes, you really got to take your time to put it in there and have it sit, right? Like that, right? Now, the problem is, if you take this off, see that in there, right? This goes in there. When you put it in like this, it snaps in there, and it's tight. It's tight like a tiger, right? But then when you put it on the figure, it still stays tight, but then once it comes undone, you really got to like push it in there and kind of maneuver it and spend some time getting it back in there in order for it to stay as tight as it possibly can. Other than that, I think it's freaking cool as hell. Now, the hands themselves are pretty standard. I like how the outside of the hand, wait a second, there we go. I like how the outside of the hand is more of a gloss finish and the inside of the hand is more matte. I think that's really cool because it makes for a lot of, again, that cool wet effect, kind of leathery looking gloves, but on the inside of his hands, they're actually more matte, and I love that they're kind of have like that material look. Damn it, come on. Yeah, you see how there's like material, like kind of like true gloves around like where the fingers are, and on the outside it's more glossy, so it gives it a little bit more of rather than just a plain old glossy hand, it gives it a little bit more variety than what I'm used to seeing on some of these Mezco figures. As far as the paintwork goes, that is. This is for the people that are obsessed with height comparisons, because let's face it, we want all of our figures to kind of fit in together and be of the appropriate height. Now, I don't normally mix my action figure collecting. I keep my Mezcos with my Mezcos, so I'm just going to compare him to his peers here. He's a smidge, and I mean ever so slightly taller than Superman, and he's also about a smidge taller than Wonder Woman. I think that's appropriate. I don't know how tall Aquaman is. If Superman's 6'2", 6'3", something like that, I kind of in my head pictured Aquaman being a little bit bigger. He was bigger in the movie anyway, right? I know Jason Momoa towers over everybody, but he looks good here. His colors really mesh well with what they're doing with the Justice League, right? So stay tuned for some photos. Let's wrap this son of a bitch up. As a reminder, this is your last chance to smash that like button and subscribe to the Red Cup Review before this video is over. We could use all the help we can get here. This figure is getting 4.5 big ones. That's 4.5 cups from the Red Cup Review because he is awesome. He's got a great wow factor. He really pops on the shelves. The color is amazing. Again, I'm a sucker for the classic look. What do you want me to tell you? There's really not much to say negative about this figure with the exception of a little bit of maybe the black wash. Maybe the green on the figure could have been a little bit darker to give it a little bit more of a modern look, but really that's just a minor nit. I'm totally in love with the head sculpts. The paint is nice and beautifully well done. He fits in great size-wise with the rest of your Justice League figures. If you are a fan of the Justice League and a DC Collector fan, this is a must-have. This is the figure you got to get your hands on. Alright everybody, make sure to subscribe to the Red Cup Review. We hope you enjoyed this video. We do a live show every once in a while. We got a damn good channel with a great community. We also got a Facebook group, Red Cup Review, The Rebellion. We'll see you there and we'll see you soon.